Well, I think the most powerful thing that colleges learn in this survey, first of all, there are two things. One is a baseline finding from our national report this year, and we've known it for some time, is that we actually know more than we do in community colleges when it comes to doing what works for student success. We don't know everything we want to know. The research is continuing, but we know some stuff, and we're not doing as much as we know. And so we're asking students about the extent to which they are participating in practices that we have evidence are effective, and the numbers are far too low. So that's number one. But there are certain aspects of students' experiences that it turns out are most powerfully predictive of their success. For example, on the SESI survey, the Community College Survey of Student Engagement, we have a benchmark that's called active and collaborative learning. And there are a number of survey items associated with that that depict all the different ways that students can become actively engaged with other students in the learning process. And it turns out that that benchmark is predictive of everything we care about in terms of community college student success. It predicts grade point average, it predicts successful course completion, it predicts persistence from term to term, and ultimately graduation rates. So all of the faculty members in Achieving the Dream colleges need to get that message that lecture's out, active learning is in. It's that simple. We also learn from the work that students will tell us that there are certain kinds of academic and student supports that are really important to their success. Every year since 2002, now over 2 million students have told us via the survey that the most important service that colleges offer is academic advising and planning. When we ask college people what they think the most important service is to students, everyone always says financial aid, and they're always wrong. I've never seen a college that where their students didn't say that academic planning and advising was the most important service. And so we go back to students in the focus groups and we say, you're saying this is real important, why is that? And they tell us in very strong ways, I have to have a map for where I'm going, and it needs to have milestones on it that show me the progress that I'm making and the direction towards from where I am to where I want to be 2 or 3 or 5 or 8 years down the road. The problem is they say it's important, but they're not getting the service. And so the data show us misalignments between what we're doing or the way we're doing it in community colleges and what students actually need. So what students need is for advising not to be accidental. They need it not to be on a referral model. They need it not to be on the model where, oh yes, on Monday, after I finish my class, instead of going back to my job or my kids, I'm going to go across campus, I'm going to find a building I've never been to before, to meet a person I've never seen before, to wait in line for 2 or 3 hours in order to have advising. You know what? I'm not going. And that's what the data show. And so our colleges are figuring out ways through student success courses or other devices to integrate that really important experience into an inescapable educational pathway for students. We're learning about the secret sauce, and my hypothesis is that there's not going to be a silver bullet, that it is going to be a combination of things that we will put together into a coherent experience for students. So one of them certainly is, as you've suggested, the way we have placed students into developmental mathematics. I'm fond of saying that higher education has nothing but 16-week solutions. You know, I come to your college, I need fractions, you give it to me for 16 weeks. I need to factor polynomials, you give me 16 weeks. And so we are figuring out that we're causing students to spend semester after semester in courses that might be condensed, might be accelerated, and might be far more closely tailored to what they actually need to learn in order to progress. We're also figuring out that contextualization of developmental learning is incredibly important. I have video of a student who said, I came here to learn to be a nurse, and it's going to be 3 or 4 years before I ever see anything that has to do with nursing. Well, could she not do her reading course in the context of material about medical related fields? Could she not do her developmental math in the context of things that have some connection with the reason that brought her to college in the first place? The answer to that is clearly yes, and we have colleges that are doing that. Our issues, not just in developmental math, but in the other areas that are challenging for us, are about scale. We're learning more and more about those strategies that work, but we're still, in too many cases, doing them for small numbers of students. And we have to figure out institutionally how to take those things to scale. It's very difficult. It's difficult because inevitably it's a political process. Inevitably it involves reallocation of resources from one place to another, and that place over there isn't going to be happy. So these are leadership challenges. It takes courage, it's hazardous work, and it's just what we have to do.
So it seems also you love to have people hear student voices firsthand. How will you continue to scale that to bring more students into participating in the change process?
Well, one of the things that we say to colleges that are involved in achieving the dream is, yes, it's great to have a student that is part of your core team for achieving the dream or part of your data team, but that one student can't speak for 17,000 diverse students on your campus who are all very different from her. And so it's important to have that voice there, but it's also important to listen systematically. And the way you listen systematically is through survey work. It is through well-designed and well-conducted focus group works, so that you can know that you're hearing not the best student story, but the typical student story. That's what data provides for you. So there are a lot of different ways to get the student voice out, and some of them are having them sit right here talking to us, and there are other ways that are more systematic that are just as important.
So how did you come to dedicate your life around community college and student success? Is it you have a personal attachment to seeing this work succeed?
I do. It comes, I think, initially out of a very strong, family background, value placed on social justice. So my aspiration in working with community colleges is to make it that the reality that these basic things, that security and a good education and quality of life, are not a matter of where you happen to be born or who your parents have to be, and certainly not a matter of what you look like. That's the background. One of my earliest jobs, though, was in a community college in San Antonio, Texas, and I was working as a counseling supervisor in a women's clinic, and they asked me to come start a program for women. And it was back when, that was new. So I founded this program for women at San Antonio College, and within a year we had served 3,000 mostly Hispanic women. And the stories I heard is what got me hooked. The stories I heard, and the fact that the file cabinets in my office were storage places not for my files, but for their textbooks and their birth control pills, neither of which they could take home with them. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kay, for sharing. Very inspiring work. Thank you.
It's inspiring to me. I hope it's inspiring to a lot of people.